health, therapeutic writing, and dialogue. If we can give him a warm welcome, Mr. Rodney Sidney.
Good afternoon, everyone. I bring you greetings from Ta-Nehisi, Virginia. We had a really bad storm over there early in the week. And if you all want to volunteer to donate some change or donate some items, we have in Ta-Nehisi, we have this, it used to be a Southern States building, but they are accepting donations. They're looking for chainsaws, which I thought was a unique donation, but there's a lot of trees that were knocked down. Some people lost their homes. There was a famous church in our area that was there for 100 and almost 50 years that was completely destroyed. So I have some more information later. Maybe I'll pass it to those hosts so you all can find out how to donate. But I am the author of Nelson Beats the Odds. It's my first book. It's actually a graphic novel. I didn't like reading. I'm sorry to the librarians out there when I was a kid. So when I wrote a book about my experience being in special education, I wanted to write a book that kids could read and would read. A lot of the books about learning disabilities, dyslexia, ADHD are written on an academic level. And for kids with ADHD, me being diagnosed with ADHD and still having ADHD challenges as an adult, sometimes the thickness of a book would deter me. So I wanted to make a book. My book is 32 pages, a short book that will give kids with ADHD that opportunity to, hey, maybe I can complete this challenge. So I'm going to read a few pages of my book. I do have some copies on sale today. Autographed copies on sale today for $15. And I'll stop part through the book and maybe explain some of the experience, because my book is semi-autobiographical, so a lot of it is actually based on my experience in Essex County Public Schools. Nelson was off to a rocky start at Bland Middle School. Mrs. Gronkowski, Nelson's teacher, caught him playing with his friend Carlos during class. Mrs. Gronkowski asked Nelson to move his desk to the front of the class, then to the back of the class, and eventually outside of the class. No matter where Nelson moved his desk, he found someone to talk to. "I've had enough of your antics, young man. I'm going to call your parents." Nelson was in big, big trouble, and all he could hear was his mother's voice yelling, "I sent you to school to learn, not play." Nelson would often become inattentive and disinterested in class. While Mrs. Gronkowski stood at the board teaching, Nelson's mind wandered outside of the school walls into La La Land. Nelson sat and daydreamed about playing professional basketball with his buddy Anthony. When Mrs. Gronkowski asked Nelson to read what was on the board, he couldn't see it. So his father took him to see an eye doctor. When Nelson came to school the next day, he left his glasses in his book bag. "Where are your glasses?" "I forgot and left them at home." Nelson lied to Mrs. Gronkowski because he thought his classmates would tease him for wearing glasses. So for me, wearing glasses as a young man was oftentimes not happening. My glasses would be left in my book bag, left underneath my bed, left in the bathroom, left anywhere except for on my face. So I wanted to talk about that in my book because a lot of kids are ashamed to wear their glasses. In fact, I was at King William Middle School, and I named Monday National Wear Your Glasses Day. But once I got home, I said, wear your glasses Wednesday. So when I go to schools, I encourage kids to have a day that they pick to where everyone in the school wears their glasses, even if they don't need them, just to make the ones that need to wear them feel comfortable. Because what I find is, I always ask, how many kids are prescribed glasses? And you see a bunch of hands go up. And then I ask how many kids are prescribed glasses but don't wear them in school, and about 25% of the hands go up. And I know for me, academically, I was limited by not wearing my glasses, which led to me playing a lot with friends that were sitting in my proximity because I couldn't see the board, so therefore I wasn't engaged in instruction. So I really encourage kids to wear their glasses, and that's why I included it in my book. When Nelson went to hand in his work, Mrs. Gronkowski said, "I can't read this chicken scratch," and put a big, fat, red F on it. "Well, maybe you need to learn how to read then." The class erupted in laughter. Mrs. Gronkowski's face turned redder than a fire truck, and she screamed, "Go to the office, now!" While Mrs. Gronkowski set up a meeting with Nelson's parents the next day and told them, "I think your son has ADHD and a learning disability. I recommend that Nelson be placed on medication and in special education." Nelson's parents refused to put him on medication, but they thought that special education would help him reach his maximum ability. Fact: in 2001, more than 11% of children before the 17 years of age have been diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, by a healthcare provider. Quote, "I was diagnosed with ADHD twice. I didn't believe the first doctor who told me, and I had a whole theory that ADHD was just something they invented to make you pay for medicine. But then the second doctor told me I had it." This is from Solange, American-born recording artist. She was diagnosed with ADHD. "There's nothing wrong with you, baby. You just need some extra help. It's not fair. I won't be in class with my friends and everyone will think that I'm slow." "You're not slow. I've always told you that you were smart. Your dad and I just want the best for you, and the school thinks this program will help." So on the last 4 pages, I started off talking a little bit about some of the challenges I had in the classroom in terms of having conflicts with teachers. And I specifically put that in my book because a lot of kids that I work with, because I'm a social worker and I work with a lot of kids in schools, have vulnerabilities. My vulnerability was my writing. My poor handwriting was one of the reasons why I was referred to special education. So anytime someone critiqued my writing, my handwriting, or made fun of it, it made me really defensive. By making me defensive and exposing that vulnerability, it often made me snap back on a teacher. And I see that with a lot of kids in school is when that vulnerability gets tapped, whether it's by a peer or by an adult or educator, they argue or get really defensive and sometimes aggressive to protect their vulnerability. I was referred to special education in 3rd grade, and in the book Nelson was referred in 5th grade. And for me, in 3rd grade, I didn't really know what special